This is the picture you can see of Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge, Ibobi Singh, Mukul Wasnik and other leaders from Manipur. They are meeting the President Draupadi Murmu. Ibobi Singh also said that he will go tomorrow to Imphal and will try to meet Home Minister Amit Shah and apprise him of the situation. Sir, you heard what Ibobi Singh has to say. Your first thought on that, sir?
Yeah, my first thought is that probably it's a total blame game.
Yes, sir.
They are apprising that everything was very conducive, and in the last 22 years, everything now it is changed after 22 years. As a listener, or the people of Manipur now would be only interested in one thing. What is the solution? They are not interested what went wrong. Yes, we all know what has gone wrong. Some lapses have been there, and they have summed up the lapses, right or wrong. Common man can understand what are the lapses. But now everyone is looking for a solution. They stated that they have given a memorandum and 12 points are there. That should have been reiterated or stated that this is what we have proposed a action plan. People are now looking for on ground action. So I think more than a blame and a complaining, I was really looking forward to some worthwhile suggestions, but I think all the four speakers only just kept blaming, and I think that was it. No concrete suggestions have been given. Those 12 points could have been given very briefly, and I'm glad at least most of the people in that forum were from Manipur, but none of them have given out proposal. Everyone is saying कि बचाना चाहिए, 2 दिन में कंट्रोल हो सकता है. But is the control the answer? No. It's a long-term solution. There have been deep wounds between both the ethnicities. They are deep wounds. It will carry on for generations. That is what has to be addressed. And it has to be a common political objective of not only the one party or two parties. I think all the parties need together. It's a national problem. Let's face it. It's a
General
national
Meston,
problem.
one quick question there. Sir, you know, yesterday we were speaking to Dr. Haukip, who's a professor, assistant professor in JNU. You know, he and other Samir Purkayas, you know, who is an associate editor in Manipur. You know, they all were saying that, you know, that we should, the first thing after this kind of violence broke, the president's rule should have been imposed after Article 355 was imposed, or AFSPA should have been imposed. Do you think that president rule should have been imposed right at the start to make sure that at least the violence doesn't spiral out of hand?
No, I would not say it should have been imposed at the beginning. Reason being because the state has got various agencies to control it. Even if their intelligence setup, their police setup has failed, the Assam Rifles is there, the Indian Army is there. They could have been requisitioned well in time because it's a law and order problem. So the army should have been requisitioned from day one. Orders should have been given very clearly. Assam Rifles, everything. Yes, they are doing on their own initiative, but till the time the mandate does not come from the state government. So somewhere the state government has probably dilly-dallied. There is no denying to that fact. And the language being used again has to be very, very correct to be used because, you know, they are your own people. They are not Chinese or someone who have come from outside and creating. Even if they are Myanmaris, they would be only very minuscule. But they are own people, so they have to be brought to mainstream. And that is the art of our philosophy of dialogue, diplomacy. We have to resolve issues with Myanmar and dialogue with the people of Manipur, and that is the way out. And I think that is what I personally feel. We have to seal the borders with Myanmar. We have to have Assam Rifles heavy deployment on the borders. All the three neighboring states from where the roads are leading on to Imphal, they have to be opened up. We have the wherewithal to open them up. The supply should go, and the internally displaced people, they need to be looked after because they're our own people, and we
Very true.
cannot do any kind of discrimination. And let me tell you, I feel proud that I'm from the Indian Army. The Indian Armed Forces never do any discrimination. They would be having people from various communities in the same camp, and that is what is the hallmark. So we don't get into political, slugfest and passing remarks on this thing. For us, nation comes first, and I think presently for Manipur crisis, everyone should have a nationalistic approach, address it as a national issue, rather than making it some other issue and political issue. Even if the Congress has today taken a press conference, if they are going on ground, they should not flare up the situation. They should sit down, come up maybe and meet the Home Minister and give some concrete proposals the way they have done it to the President. On ground action is required. The wounds have to be healed. It is not that the situation will be just controlled by the armed forces. No, that is just a control. Control should have been done, very rightly said, it should have been done in the first 2 days. It should not have been allowed to flare up. More you allow it to flare up, it's given a lot of time for the wounds. The people have been wounded so deeply. That hurt, which is now settled deep in their hearts, in their minds, that is what the whole issue is. So it has to be a holistic approach. And I stated before also, many Manipuris are here in Delhi. This is the place of decision making. We need to meet those people, uh, meet them, small teams. They will give up some on ground suggestions because they also know the solution lies to coexist, and there has to be mutual accommodation to each side. It has to be a consultative approach, not that few people on top take a decision. Then it may be not very well taken by the people of Manipur. Yes, in the long run, it will keep festering. So it has to be a very
Okay.
holistic approach, which
Okay.
Mr. Bhaumik also proposed.
Okay, let me also play the graphics which illustrates where all the violence is taking place. This is the visual which you are seeing is a still of, now this is Kangpokpi district, then Bishnupur district, then Chura Chandpur, of course, which is the epicenter, as we said, Imphal Valley, Imphal West district, Kakching district. So these are the areas, where these incidents, violent incidents are taking place. Professor Suan, if I may ask you, what do you make of the violence that we have witnessed in the last 72 hours to 96 hours, with more than 50, around 50 people being killed, and the government claiming that, that they have killed 33 terrorists, which are saying, and you're saying that these are the terrorists who are from the, who are, part of the Sioux agreement with the government, and they have also said that they have detained scores of more.
I think one of the things that we have to nuance in this, contested debate is the fact that the state chief minister continues to be the major source of false propaganda as well as distortion, in the sense that he simply does not distinguish the difference between terrorists as well as armed militants. Because if you look at closely the South Asia Terrorism Portal or the Home Ministry website, you'll find that out of the 7 proscribed armed terrorists in Manipur, 7 belong to the valley areas. So the chief ministers, in fact, for reasons best known to him, does not tell anything about the complicity and involvement of these armed terrorists in instigating armed Retd groups in the valley areas to launch offensive against the hill areas. That's one. Secondly, I think much of the problem that emanate in the last 2 days, in effect, resulted not from the offensive from the hills, but offensive from the valley areas, in effect, which continue to have the complicity or active participation of the state force in trying to sanitize those areas. And those are pretty clear that the kind of ruse or excuse that the state government used was naturally seen as an attempt to kind of attack as well as sanitize those areas in ways which further push the aggressive integrationist and majoritarian idea of the state government. So in that sense, I see that much of the conflagration that happens in the last 2 days stems not from offensive strike from the hills, but rather from the valley areas. I think the state government should now, in fact, I do not believe that the present dispensation would ever be above board, given that it is deeply embedded into this integrationist and majoritarian push, which I had been arguing lies at the heart of all these riots and madness that wreak havoc on different parts of Manipur.